Okay, hello and welcome. And today we're going to look at Wordfence. It's a security application that is delivered in the form of a plugin, a WordPress plugin, and it provides a very good overall set of security functions that you need to keep your website secure and remaining secure. So some of the kind of give you a kind of a high level overview of the areas that it covers. It has an antivirus scanner. It has a form of intrusion detection to see if somebody's tampered with the files. It provides a firewall to assist you with it's to help with kind of denial of service attacks or anything that's likely to cause bandwidth or performance issues against your website, so you can throttle certain types of behavior. And I haven't really looked too much into that as yet, but it's quite impressive what you can do there. And it also provides a level of hardening as well, so you're able to sort of establish how many times somebody's allowed to fail a login. You can lock them out, lock the IP address out. And it will kind of check password strengths. It will provide the ability to sort of harden the system as well. So it will remove the WordPress version and generally sort of harden up the application, based on kind of what's seen as the kind of best practices for securing WordPress. So I've got a kind of a test site that I've put together just to show you the plugin. And one of the things that I've done for this particular site, if we just go and look, you'll see that there's not that attractive a theme on here. And the reason that I've got this particular one is because it's a free theme. And it contains an encrypted footer. Okay, so we'll explain what that is a bit later, but it's basically to do with, if you look at the bottom of this web page, in the footer you'll see that there's these anchor text links which contain money keywords. Okay, and what's happened here is, what happens with a lot of these free themes is they get people to sponsor them, or they create them themselves and they put their own websites in there. But the idea being is that every time somebody installs this theme, they will then present these keyword anchored links to the internet, which then kind of creates search engine optimization juice for those particular sites. Not wanting to go into this too much, but interestingly enough, since the Penguin came on the scene, it's backfiring against these people now. It's not a good thing to do, because you end up satirizing the your keyword, one of the things that Penguin will look for is over optimization. So if your keyword, your anchor text is the variation is not significant enough, if you use over 60% of the same keyword term as your top keyword term, then you will get penalised, and you'll see a significant drop in rank. And that's something that's it's kind of a general consensus that's coming out between the experts there as to one of the things to avoid if your site's been hit by Penguin. So obviously people that practice this sort of form of SEO are going to be hit quite a lot. So anyhow, going off topic a bit, let's go back to looking at the Wordfence plugin. So if we go to the plugin itself, you'll see we've got an options menu. There's a lot here, so I'm really going to skip over this quickly, but you can set up your alert criteria. There's something called live traffic view, which is a kind of like a real-time presentation of activity. It's kind of real-time analytics, really. There is a kind of like your antivirus parameters that can be set, being able to enable automatic scans, types of scans to look for, types of different sort of areas to monitor. I mean, it actually monitors disk space as well, so there's operational monitoring as well. There's also the firewall rules that I spoke about earlier, being able to sort of protect you against denial of service attacks. And then there's login security options. Now this is quite similar to one of the plugins that I've always liked is Login Lockdown. So this allows you to sort of state how many times somebody is allowed to fail a login before they're locked out based on their IP address. And so you can actually sort of say how long they should be locked out for, should they be logged, etc. And some other options here. This is around the sort of the hardening, so hide the WordPress version, because quite often what people will do is they will the WordPress version creates a footprint which can be searched for, and then by knowing which version that you have, they would know which vulnerabilities are available in that version, so they could then start to come up with an attack plan against your site. So let's go across to the first of all to the scan. Okay, you can see I've run a scan earlier. Now, one of the things I'm expecting this to pick up is, first of all, is the footer. That's the reason that I put the free theme on there, because that footer will be encrypted, and the reason it's encrypted is because the individual that developed that theme, they don't want people to go in and with a plain text editor remove their SEO exposed links. They want to keep those there, so what they do is they encrypt that file so that it makes it difficult for you to sort of to go in and to edit that particular file and remove those links. There are ways of doing that, but it's outside the scope of this review for the moment. So one of the things that will happen is the scan engine will pick up, there's an encrypted file which looks untrustworthy, so it will obviously raise that as being an alert. The other thing which I'm going to do quickly here is I'm going to tailor one of the WordPress core files. Okay, now the idea being here is that a hacker would play around with these files. They would inject some of their own code. They would change something to cover their their activity, their footprint, and that's generally how a Trojan would work within WordPress. So what I shall do is I'm going to just make a comment here. We'll put AV stroke Trojan, close that comment, and so we've made a small change to one of the core WordPress files there. Now the idea being is that the system's going to pick up on that, because what this particular app can do is it will look at all of these files on our server, and then it will compare these to a set of files that it has on its own server, a Wordfence server that's in the cloud. So what it will do is it will look at all of our files and it will create a checksum of those, which is like a mathematical hash of all the characters that are in that file. So if you change one single character in that file, you change that mathematical equation, the hash. And so what they'll do is they'll take the hash and they'll compare it against the hash for the files that they have for a version that they know has not been tampered with. So the idea being is if there's a difference between the two, it raises a flag. Now one of the things with this is you might find that there's false flags. You might have a valid reason to amend one of your system files or one of your theme files, for instance your functions file or your header file. So if that is the case, you can choose to ignore and not be warned again about that particular change. So you can kind of that you can get the system to learn around your specific website, your specific sort of customizations. So let's start the scan, and hopefully the scan should pick up on this change that I made to the post.php file, and it should also pick up on our dodgy theme with the dodgy encrypted footer. So we'll start the scan. One of the things I like about this is it happens in real time. You can actually see it occurring right in front of your eyes, and straight away we can see comparing core WordPress files, and it's picked up that there's a problem found there. And scanning file content for infections and vulnerabilities, it's found a problem there. Here you've got a complete log of everything that's occurred, every single file that's been scanned, vulnerability types that have been checked. You can email that log should you wish to. So what we're going to do is we're going to review the issues. So the first one that's come up, you can see it's picked up on the footer. Now this is the encrypted footer of the crap, dodgy, free theme that we got off the internet. So what we can do here is you can view the file, and it will open it up in a viewer, and there you can see that is actually an encrypted footer file. If you were to decrypt that, you would see the kind of, what was it, celebrity baby clothes and Viagra and, you know, cheap car insurance or whatever sort of keyword anchor text was in the footer file. So let's close that and go back again, and next we'll look at the next one, which is the post.php file that we edited. So what you can do here is you can see how the file has changed. So if we select that, you can now see where I've entered the text AV Trojan and how that's modified to the original version. Okay, so straight away you can see what's changed there. So you can imagine if your site's been hacked, you don't know where the hell to start. You can't start comparing every single file. So this gives you a really nice way to walk through. So what you could do is, I mean, in this particular instance, you could choose to ignore the footer. You know about that, you don't mind, so you can ignore that. Okay, and then for the post file, what we could do here is we could restore the original version. So we select that, it pulls down the original version of the file, and that is now fixed and it's cleaned. So you can work through each one of those. If there's any one that you're not any particular one that you're not sure about, then you could defer it to an expert. You could perhaps go onto the Wordfence forum or contact a security expert and get kind of a bit of advice as to what you should do there. But it provides a really good interface to be able to work through a cleanup of a hacked site there. Time's ticking on, so let's look at the other ones. We've got live traffic, which, as I say, this is a kind of a it's a live representation of the analytics for the site, really, but it also contains stuff around logins and logouts. You know, crawlers that are accessing registered users. You can kind of get some information there. The other one is you can see IPs that have been blocked. I don't have any here at the moment, but if there were some that were blocked, you know, you would see that they would be logged. You know, the reason being, as in, you know, they might have been locked out from a login, or they were recently throttled as part of the firewall rule set that we could construct. So there you've got an overview of the IPs that have been blocked on the system, and that brings us to a conclusion. Actually, no, there's one other thing that I just wanted to share, which is the let me just open this. Is the footprint. Now, one of the things I did was a profile of the load time for this particular login, because you know, sometimes with logins that do a lot, they tend to sort of consume a lot of resources. So they can, you don't want them to slow down your website. One of the things that can really slow down the performance of your website can be having plugins, especially large, extensive plugins. Now, I looked into this and was very happy with the result. Now you can see here we've got a pie chart divided by different plugins that I have on this system, and here's one that you probably know, Pretty Link. You can see the time that took to load. Also another one is Crayon Syntax Highlighter, another popular plugin. And then if we actually look at Wordfence Security, it's really one of the lower of the plugins. So it's, you know, it's obviously, I'm not concerned about performance at all. I've not really looked into the memory footprint, but one of the things that I could see in their options is you can actually sandbox the amount of memory that's allowed. So my overall impression is that I really like the application. I'm going to play around with it a bit more on my test site, and then I'm going to roll it out to my own live sites as well, and start to use it there. So it very much gets a thumbs up from myself. And if you're in the market for a good all-round system of protection for your WordPress sites, then I certainly, so far it's early days, but I'd put this forward as a recommendation, definitely something to consider. So I hope you found this useful, and until the next time we do a video, you take care. Goodbye.